Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
Okay, welcome to Life's a Coach. Welcome back.
What's up, guys?
I'm Avril, your foot, and today I got on our panel our usual hosts, Sophia and Eric. How you guys doing?
Hi. Doing good. It's Friday, so Friday feeling.
Yeah.
Friday feeling.
Friday. Thank God it's Friday, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
What's going on? What's new, man? What's new? Tell us what you guys been up to.
Well, y'all know I just came back from a men's retreat. So I got some good stuff to share on that. So what's been going on? How you doing, Eric?
Good. It's just been busy time at work for me. And yeah, just the usual, man. Just the usual stuff, you know. But tell us about your men's retreat. I'm intrigued to know more about what you've been up to.
You want to run from the spot, but we are putting you again on the spot, Avril.
Exactly, right?
Yo, it was amazing. It was amazing. So, for viewers, listeners out there that don't know, I'm part of a men's group called the Wolfart Way, and we connect every Monday night on Zoom calls, and we also meet a few times in the desert in Joshua Tree, California. We actually got a new branch, an East Coast side too. We now there's some brothers who are now meeting in Maine as well. We got another one coming up in June, Eric, if you're available.
Okay.
Yeah, we got another one in the East Coast. Yeah, we got another one in the East Coast coming up.
Man, for sure.
I will. So this time around, this is my second time going there as a facilitator. Oh my God. It was amazing. I feel like I've told a lot of people my experience with that. Like right now, I just feel like it might feel diluted to me when I talk about it. But yeah, I drove out on Wednesday, spent a few days there, then drove back on Monday. Where do I start? It was amazing. It was amazing.
Set the scene for us, Avril, because for those people who may not know, like the setting and like what does like a men's group even do, right? Why are you getting out there?
Yeah. So Wolfart Way, we just a men's collective that does work with men, right? This is just, so for example, from our Monday nights, it's just a safe space for men to just come in and just share what's going on in their hearts, and a safe space for men to be vulnerable, to open up and just feel safe around other men and just share whatever's going on in their lives, whether it's they want to just vent and just get unconditional positive regard, non-judgment, to just speak what's there, what you're sitting with. And at times, once someone's done sharing, then you get guys reflecting back to you what you just said. So you also feel heard. Right. But the thing that always amazes me about that group is that it doesn't matter what background you come from. We have different ethnicities, different backgrounds. People grew in different parts of the world, and men doing all sorts of professions, you know. But whenever one guy starts sharing what's going on in their life, it's amazing how much it resonates with us all. It either resonates with everybody or resonates with one or two or three of the guys in the room, right? And for me, I found that it's just that place where you feel like, I'm not alone, you know, someone feels what I'm going through, or, oh, wait a minute, what this guy is going through is exactly what I went through last week. Or, you know, I've been through this thing he's going through before. And at times when people reflect, we're not really there to coach each other or give each other advice, but we just reflect back what we hear, right? And if you know the person as well, you also reflect back their journey and who they are. So sometimes a guy may be going through the trenches at point and he's just feeling weak and hopeless and just everything is shitty. So we reflect back first what we've heard him talk about, so he feels heard, right? And sometimes some guys will just reflect, but we also see how far you've come in your journey. Remember, I used to do this and used to do this, and this is where you are now. So just being reminded of like, okay, today it feels shitty, but I've come a long way in my journey, kind of stuff. So it's just a beautiful, safe place that we have for men. So initially, we used to meet twice a year, in the fall and in the spring, in the desert, in Landers, which is close to Joshua Tree in Southern California. And we used to do things like, so on the itinerary of things, on a typical weekend would have an ice bath or an ice plunge, right? Would have yoga. Some of the mornings would have breathwork. Breathwork is one big thing that we have, with different types of breathwork that we do. And some of the guys, they are really good on it. Like they're really well trained and seasoned out to do those modalities. And there are quite a number of stuff that we have on the itinerary. That's just to get the guys to bond and meet and connect. And this time around, we had more time for workshops, because we also break down into small groups. And we also do plant medicines on 2 of the nights, and it's such beautiful. Like we have, like this time around, we got there on the Thursday. I mean, we started the retreat on Thursday. Then in the evening with the cacao ceremony. Then on the Friday night we had a psilocybin ceremony. On Friday night and Friday night and Saturday night we had psilocybin ceremonies as well. And I was, as a facilitator, for me, the role that I kind of was playing this time around is like I was heading up one of the small pods, one of the small groups that we had when we broke down into we ended up having about 4 or 5 groups of 6. So I was running, me and another guy from Colorado. I was heading up a team of 6 guys, just facilitating that group, seeing how their nights were and just catching up on their process. So people usually come in with the intention, like, oh, this is my intention for the weekend, and throughout the weekend, we'll be checking in on them, seeing how they're doing, what their experience is like. There are usually a lot of newbies who come, so we are just making sure that they feel safe, they feel good, and connecting with them, that kind of thing. So, yeah, so I was facilitating a small group. Then during the evening, one of the best things that I love doing, I love serving in this capacity, is just like, whilst guys are on the platform during the ceremony, I just run around making sure they're feeling warm. So I got tons of blankets in the next tent. I just come check in. Do you need a blanket? Are you feeling cold? And I give the blankets, or refill their water bottles, and just making them feel safe and feel cared for, That's what I was doing. And I also had like the water run and the food run this weekend. We usually have food prepared on the land. But this time around, we had the food being prepared like 30 minutes away. So in between sessions, I would just, run, go get some of the food and bring it back. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. For me, what touched me was that, when you do this, you're not doing it to get any, credit back, or to get any, oh, that was awesome, thanks, so, kind of thing. But just the feedback that I got from the guys, especially the new guys, were just like, oh, thanks, Josfat. I really felt cared after, I really felt looked after last night, or things like that. And just this week, thank you. So I'm a big hugger, right? So everybody I meet, I'm just loving on them, giving them hugs, and so all those little things at the end of the week, they added up to like being them for them on the platform. Whenever I meet somebody, I always make it a point to remember people's names. So when I see them on the land, even just in between sessions or during low key time, just saying, hi, Kevin, how you doing? That goes a long way. So yeah, it was dope. It was really cool. I just loved connecting. It's like I got to see how a certain side of me comes out, and I'm in a different modality. But funny enough, having said that, what I got to see come together for me this weekend, I mean, I've facilitated before, and I've been in the leadership team before I stepped back for a while when I just wasn't in a season to lead. What I've found interesting is that all the modalities that I have, like the comedy stuff that the funny side to me that I got when I was doing stand-up comedy, and it's like the coaching, even just being a coach, right? All the modalities that I have and the tools that I have in my tool bag, somehow they're just coming up at the right time. You know what I'm saying? And I got to see myself operate in a space of like, oh my gosh, all the things I've learned in life, right? They're all coming together, and it's just like right now, this is what we need. And I pull it out of the tool bag, and here. It was even in between sessions when we had low key times, or when you meet somebody one-on-one. I even got to practice my coaching skills and coaching tools when someone's going through some stuff, and you just hold space, you listen, and you act. I get to ask them the powerful questions. Just leave them with that and help them get to a place where they can make a certain decision for themselves. So it was really dope. I loved it. By the end of the weekend, I was just like out of it. I was tired, but it
Yeah,
was
of
worth
course.
it. It was worth it. And in the desert too, you don't realize that because of the heat, you end up feeling extra tired than usual. Yeah.
Definitely.
So that,
What kind of differences have you saw? Because you were mentioning that there were new people, so people that never done that before, right, Avril?
Yeah. So
what difference did you saw from the first day in that people and on the last day?
So here's the typical difference you see, and I can speak about this from a lot of other times that happened, but it happened this past weekend too, is that actually I'll share some of the words that one of the guys did. There's a guy out there who came to do a documentary. The leadership opened that up space for him to come and do a documentary about the Wolford Way. And he's quite a young guy. He's a professional. He's good in his work. He's amazing at his work. And he also, in order to do the best with the documentary, came to immerse himself too in the process. Right?
Makes sense.
So what he said to me at the end of he was actually doing as a reflection, sharing with everybody at the end of the week. He goes, when I came here, it was quite strange seeing everybody, because when the guys come in, those that know each other, we all come and we light up and we all hug each other. We said, oh, Avril's here. Then we come, we embrace each other and we laugh, and we all that like love and bonding and camaraderie and laughter and cheer and I've missed you and all that. He's like, I came in and I saw that, and it didn't make sense, and I was wondering, what's this about? But now that I'm leaving at the end of this weekend, I now know I'm part of that too, and I know what that's about, and I can't wait for the next retreat to come and be like that. So in essence, what it is, the difference you typically notice is that when someone comes in for the first time, you still feel like you're an outsider, right? When you leave like you're part of the family, right?
And that is in 3 days, right? So it's very
That's
powerful.
in 3 days. Yes.
Yeah.
And even that, the fact that most men, where we come from a society and culture where we don't open up, we don't open up, we are guarded, right? And we don't typically share stuff. And my issues are my issues, and I put on the front that I'm macho and I got it figured out and all that kind of stuff. So what we tend to notice is like when someone comes in for the first time, they kind of, sorry, let me put my phone on. Do not disturb. What you find is like typically guys come in all closed in, right? And if it's your first time, one would be kind of weary, like, oh, what's going on? Is this a cult? Is this what's going on? And even I remember one of the first times I was there when I saw a guy actually break down and start crying, emotions just pouring out. It was kind of weird and odd for me. Like, yo, why is this dude crying? You know, that kind of stuff. But you typically find someone comes in that space, and by the end of the weekend, they get their guards down. They also start sharing. They also start talking. And by the end of the weekend, they've changed. You know, they feel, it's called the Wolfart way for a reason, because we all have that lone wolf syndrome. I won't say syndrome, but that lone wolf attitude. You know, we're all lone wolves. We go out there and we do our things about once, twice, or 3 times a year. We come back as a pack, you know. So, yeah, the biggest difference that I noticed, like people being initially reserved and into themselves, at the end of the weekend, they've made so many connections and interactions. They feel like people have got some love. We end up calling each other brothers because it really feels like a family, you know. And at times you actually see someone's stress level, just like there's a guy who came there who just seemed like he was just depressed and depressed and depressed, and he just looked depressed and he was going through a lot. And after the second night, he was now smiling. And it's one of those things, like, at times, men, we're walking around carrying a lot, and it's become so normal for us that we don't realize we're carrying a lot on our shoulders, right? So you will get there, you connect with the guys, you drop that off, you know. It literally shows on one's face, like, holy fudge, this guy can smile, like, you know. And so for certain people, because we grew up differently, you can tell it's still awkward, and it is awkward for some people to maybe hug, or to some guys to hug, or even to share, like even finding the language of expressing the emotions they're feeling or their process that they're going through. You can tell it's kind of still challenging for some guys, you know. But those are some of the notable differences that you can tell by the end of the weekend.
It's like you go there and you are allowed to, it's like you gain permission to have emotions,
Yes,
like a little bit of that. And you have people that see you, right? That are there to see you.
Yes.
So I think that can make a big difference in someone else's life, because people are looking to be seen, but in a way are not allowing themselves to be seen. I don't know if this makes sense, but it was the image that was coming to my mind.
For sure, 100%. 100%. And something that I also found that happens, it happened to me a few times when I was still in my early years with the group, even on the Monday night calls. It's like some guys don't know how to express, again, their emotions or what they're feeling, or to share, this is what I'm going through. But I had a situation where, or something that happens is that I may not be able to express what I'm feeling and to share what's going on inside here. But when I hear another brother sharing it, and I hear another brother processing the stuff that he's going through, and if it's something that's identical to what I'm going through, or similar to what I've gone through, so even when this guy is sharing and starts crying and just bawling out, it feels like he's doing it for me too. Does that make sense? Right? Mm-hmm. So we actually get a sense of relief, like, oh my God, someone feels what I'm feeling. Oh my God, he knows what I'm going through, you know. And there's a sense of sighing, like, as he's doing the work, right? It feels like he's actually crying for me. He's releasing it for everybody too.
Can I challenge that, Avril? Like, it's because you said sometimes we don't know how to feel. I don't remember what you said.
Like, yeah, some guys we don't know how to express.
How to express what are we feeling. Is
yes.
it that you don't know how to express, or that and then I'm going to here to divide ourselves in men and women, but it's because you don't know how to express, or because that you don't feel that you are allowed to express? And then when you see another member of your gender, because me as a woman, I will tell you that I don't think, oh, I know how to express. I just express it, and that is it. And normally, I think that it's because you see on the other side someone that expressing it, and that resonates with you. So now I see that I can also do that. I don't know. Maybe you just say if this
you're
makes
right.
sense.
No, it makes sense, and you're right in that. So if I'm getting you correct, you're saying like women, you typically feel more allowed, if we, for lack of a better word, allowed to express because you see other women do it, and typically that's what we women do, right? And you're saying, am I hearing correctly? You're saying the guys typically they don't feel allowed to, so they don't. Is that what you're saying? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me you both know. What do you think, Eric? It's
I've been waiting because this is a great conversation, right? Great conversation.
All right.
But I know everyone. I want you to finish.
No, I just want to get the question. I just want to get what you're saying before I respond. Do you mind just repeating what you're saying, Sophia? You said, is it the what?
Let me just also try to make it a little bit more clear. So when you were saying that sometimes I mean the men in the group go to the group and they don't know how to express their feelings. It's what comes to my mind is they are there like, I have this feeling inside, but I don't know how to express it. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to express it. And then when you see another guy like crying, you relate with that and said, oh, someone feels like me. Now I'm allowed to cry too. That's what came to my mind, because I see someone else cry, I'm allowed to cry too. And when I see, and why am I thinking like this? Because in society, it grew a little bit of an idea that men don't cry, or men are weak if men cry. And that's not true. For me, if a man cries, it's just the most courageous thing in the world. It's so powerful. Because me as a woman, I will never be seen as weak if I cry. Sometimes now in society is a little bit strange, but for myself. But I think that men were raised and society raised them to not cry in public, even in private sometimes. So when you see another man crying, it's like, oh my God, that's it. This is the feeling that I want to share.
Totally. You're correct. That's definitely something that we experience there. And as well, because different men are at different levels in their journey in their self-love, self-care, and even doing the work within themselves. So you find that even just being around some men that are being vulnerable and talking about some deep stuff can feel uncomfortable and weird and odd for somebody who's just come in, because I'm like, we don't talk about that, man. And I remember my own judgments at first when I first came. I actually, and we expect judgments to be there. We actually expect that when you first come in, you're gonna have judgments, and we're cool with that. I had my judgment like, damn, he's not like I was calling him weak or something, but I felt I had judgments towards the dude because I was like, sharing such vulnerable stuff, what's wrong with you? But I only got to discover that those are some of the parts in me at that time that wish I could be doing what he's doing, that was showing up as me judging him. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm coming from a space where I didn't feel I can do that, or was taught not to do that. So it's that, when we have that inner kid part of us that was always told, you can't do this, don't do this, don't just do this. Then you go to your neighbor's house and you find them doing the same thing that you were told not to do, or your friend's house, right? Then at times your initial reaction is to try and judge them, like, why are they doing it? But when you do the work and go 3 layers down, you discover you actually envy them because you wish you were doing that, but you come from a background where you've been told not to, so that's where the judgment comes. So back to what I was saying is that, it's one of those, you come in and you see another man get vulnerable or share intimate, deep stuff, or share something that you think, oh, I'm struggling with my sexuality, or I'm struggling with porn, or what have you. And men are being really deep about those things. And at first, it feels weird and odd and awkward kind of thing if you're not used to being in spaces when men get real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So because people are in different levels of their growth and their walk, going back to what I was mentioning about what I typically notice, like there's some guys who it's gonna take them a long time, and maybe for their whole life, they're not gonna be that guy who's gonna be, oh, I feel this, that dot dot dot. But in their process, watching another guy share an experience that they identify with, maybe they never got to grieve that. It's like someone lost their mother, right, and never got to really grieve that because he was a man. He just had to take care of shit and get on with life. Then he's witnessing another man cry for losing his sister or his mother, right? It resonates, right? Though he's a tough guy, macho, and he's like, "Arr." Watching another guy go through the process and explain what he's feeling and all that, there's something about that resonates with him on a level that even, yeah, you're right, he feels the permission that he can also cry about it. But in the space that he is in, maybe he's still got resentment and fuck God, fuck the world, I'm heaven forgiven, and the stuff still there for him. There's an element of like, someone gets me, someone knows what I'm feeling. There's just a little something that is dropped weight that's on his shoulder kind of thing that I've noticed. So that's the process I was trying to describe that. Yeah, maybe months or years later, he may be at a place where he can also open up and share his process depending on his path and his walk. But in those moments, watching another guy go through that, there's a resonance that one has, and then somehow it also starts his process, So that's my experience, what I've noticed.
I love that, Avril. I think, again, with everything that you're saying, from a very young age, first of all, I feel that boys are told, be a big boy. Do you know what I mean? Man up, and all of these types of things. So again, I'm not going to, generalize every environment, but most environments in a lot of cultures, boys are brought up to be masculine and not to show their feelings, right? So that's just the gender role, first of all, that we're given, first and foremost. And then I think that problem is exacerbated by the fact that in a lot of, male sports and in school and so on and so forth, the relationships that they build are the same, right? They're about sport, and they're not about showing your feelings, right? Not about showing weakness and things like that. So I'm part of a men's alliance as well, right? And I've wanted to come to your one for sure, but in that process, I've described it before as like those relationships with other men usually are a mile wide and an inch deep, right? So you have loads of them, and a lot about, let's say on the surface details about who they are as people, and that feels comfortable, right? Because you don't feel exposed. It's similar to being in a relationship with somebody, right? Where you can have a lot of acquaintances, right? People who kind of know you on the surface, so they know your name, they kind of know what you like to eat, maybe, and that's about it, right? They kind of like they know your interests, what you do for work. They know your kid's name, maybe your wife's name. Do you know what I mean? But they don't know you intimately. So, and I think men can fall into the trap of just being in those types of relationships, right? Because they think that that's normal. And I lived like that for years, knowing that there was something missing, right? Because I feel as if, again, being in a relationship and just talking for myself personally, you can lose yourself in a relationship in many ways as a man, because of that fact that you've been told how you should act,
for sure,
what you should do, how you should dress, what you should like, not like, right? So when you get into that type of environment, overall, as you say, it can have one of two effects. One, it can be a shock to the system, and you're like, no way, because I'll be very open. and Sophia's on the air. And, last week after our session, we had a little session, me, her, and Jean, and then Jean had to go. But again, and I felt that I'd been really
a coaching session.
Sorry, just a little kind of ad hoc coaching session where I was dealing with some stuff, and really, first of all, it's the awareness of, because and I'll use my one as an example. I've been doing a lot of inner work, you guys know, obviously, over the last 6 months or so. But even then, I didn't have the awareness of exactly what was wrong. But I described it to them as me feeling some kind of constriction, or that something was in the way, right? And something wasn't quite right, and they could kind of tell that I wasn't just myself and so open. So we jumped into the session, and I was really, and this is what men do as well. We think with our logical mind and brain. And so I was really, in the first part of the conversation, if I think about it again, I was very much trying to rationalize, okay, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm thinking. And it was just like a conversation as I'm explaining to you today. But then, most men, I feel it takes longer for them to tap into their emotional side of the brain and to tap into how they're feeling. But obviously, Sophia and Jean are like masters at this. So they were really able to get to the crux and to stop me thinking so logically, right? Because I was very much, heads here and I'm thinking, right? Versus really listening to my body, right? Because the body keeps the score. The body knows that something's wrong. And in order to align it, when you do align it, as you say, I think that's what's happening when, as you said, Avril, when another man tells you what they're feeling and what they're going through, and it resonates, that's that feeling inside of you that kind of clicks, and you're like, wow, like someone feels how I'm feeling. And through their questioning, I got a similar kind of resonance, because I was able to sync my body and my mind, because I was like, whoa, like, and there was some kind of anger and resistance inside of me that had been building. And I was able to express it pretty strongly with Sophia. And afterward, like, I didn't even know that was there. That's the crazy thing. I knew that there's something wasn't quite right. But trust me, Avril, it was powerful, powerful that just, it was like, it's something that I just kind of, you're like in your head, you're in your head. And then you kind of go a little bit deeper. You kind of like, it's almost like this, for me, it was like a stone at the pit of my stomach that was just there. And it was some kind of somatic. And it's just like, if you ignore it, you can kind of live with it. Do you know what I mean? But then if you go a little bit deeper, I was able to go a little bit deeper. And then when I got close enough to it, it just kind of exploded. And I couldn't stop. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It's that emotion inside of you that's been built up. All those times that someone's told you, that you're not good enough, or that you haven't, that you're even when you felt inadequate or shame or guilt and anger, and you haven't been able to express that in the words. It's this really powerful type of breathing that I've done in England called transformational breath. And the idea behind it is basically, it's very similar to Wim Hof at the start, where you belly breathe and chest breathe. And you kind of almost go really, really deep, really, really deep. And it's for a long period of time. There's like a heavy pillow at your stomach. And basically you're breathing. And then the practitioner asks you to open your mouth and to basically get all of it's like just sounds, but like out of your mouth. So it kind of sounds like muffled, but that's basically like, because apparently the idea behind it is that the mouth has a lot of untold things that it has to say that you kind of hold under your breath and things like that, and you don't say. So like, I'd done that before, and it was a very similar kind of, very emotional, but you feel like you don't know the thoughts, but you kind of release all of this emotion out of your mouth. So It was a very similar experience to that in that sense, to the transformational breath. But again, to go back to your point, both of you, I think, yes, I think the ability, first of all, to be open to talking to people who are willing to go a little bit deeper. So many people are scared, man. So many people are worried about what's going to come up. But if you're willing to confront your shadow, which I know, Avril, we need a session on the shadow for sure, because
Shadow
that's your
self,
edge,
yeah.
man. That's your edge. Yeah, that's your that's that part of you that is holding everything back, right? That's that part of you that is, that we're often scared to show everyone else. But for me, that's outside your comfort zone, where we are the strongest, man. That's our true selves. So like, if we can get as close as we can to our shadow, to opening that vulnerability,
you know what, even
it's powerful.
just what comes to mind for me when I know this conversation is totally going a different direction, but what comes to mind for me when you talk about that space where, well, before I even talk to that, let me just pause and say, that's awesome. The experience that you had last week. It sounds beautiful. Sounds like you got a breakthrough that you needed,
That was amazing.
And and you're right. Sometimes it's not just men, but we
Thank you,
all,
Sophia.
men and women, we
If
all
really
at
we
times
didn't
are.
record it, just for you to know, we didn't record it. So
Yeah,
we're
I
not
wish
sure.
we
These are
did.
the ones. These are the ones that. This is the ones that we should record, because
I know.
it's
Like,
coaching
I
in.
wish that we had.
It's an example of coaching in session, like a live coaching session. What it looks like,
It's true.
for our viewers, listeners, and followers out there, they get to witness it. What coaching looks like. So I wish you guys had recorded. Anyway, but I'm also happy for you that you got what you needed from that session with Jean and Sophia. They're amazing coaches.
It was a very good.
Yeah. Speaking of the shadow self and things that what you're talking about, Eric, about being on the edge and things that we don't share with anybody, or even we've also pushed down ourselves. So the shadow self is any part of our personality, who we are, or our expression that we have put in the shadow. There's the light, what everybody sees, and there's the shadow of that. What will we put to the side and hidden it somewhere that nobody sees, right? And I often say it, I think I've said it in another episode that we did, that it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that's negative, right? It can be literally part of your shadow self can literally be as, maybe, Sophia, you've got a beautiful voice and you can sing as like, you're a great singer, but at 4 years old, your mom told you that girls don't sing. It's not good for girls to sing. Or someone at school said, "Oh man, you sound like something," and teased you, made fun of you. Then, though you were good at it, or you then just push it down and say the world does not need to see this, or you start believing I'm not a good singer, so you never explore that. That's also what the shadow self is. I know at times people, by the term shadow, they think it's always negative. But just coming back to what you're saying, what I just thought, Eric, in regards to like being on the edge, I had a guy who ended up during the weekend sharing with the guys that he recently started realizing that he is bisexual, right? And stuff like that is stuff that you typically find on the edge or tucked in the shadow self, right? And the journey of processing what that looks like and feels like, and the fact that he comes from a quote unquote, I think it's a Momish background, right? So there's a lot of
Mormon, right? Yeah.
Mormon, yeah. So there's a lot of, you can't express that, that whole process, that's those spaces where, in something like Wolfheart Way or other men's collective that creates safe spaces for men to explore that stuff. Like you're given a safe space to explore what's coming up for you in a loving way, in a non-judgmental way. And that in itself, Eric, is the space that we need for a lot of men. because like what Sophia is saying, it feels like, and what you've said as well, like feels like growing up, most men we're not given, or it doesn't feel like, not that we need the permission, but it feels as if the world did not give us permission to just speak some of those deep truths coming out, you know. But those are some of the things that's how deep stuff gets. Like, oh, I think I'm bisexual and I don't even know how to explore that and what that looks like for me, especially the family that I have or the people that I have in my community when I get back home, you know. But this is something that's active in, and even stuff like that, there's a place too where, because of the conditioning that we have growing up in those certain different spaces, whether it's a culture, custom, or society that you're part of, right? You yourself are in conflict with yourself because you're saying, this is wrong. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. But I'm feeling this, but it's wrong, because you were taught it's wrong, but you're feeling something in here, you know? So just having spaces like that where you can have brothers or people around you that can help you process that stuff, it's huge. That's why someone comes in on a Friday or on a Thursday one way and leaves on a Sunday different person, you know. Yeah, I'm not saying there are miracles that, I mean, oh yeah, there are miracles that happen there, but I'm not trying to, what am I trying to say? I don't want to over fantasize what this process is, but I just know that it's really, the best way I can describe it is just a safe space for men to be men, right? It's a safe space for even to be a kid again, to just come and be playful and be a kid again, and just be allowed to just like, you know what, you're a CEO of Google, whatever, right? But this weekend you are, you know, so this guy, the guy I was telling you was doing the documentary. I'm sitting with him like the day after, because I stayed an extra day to rest. Then he asked me what I do for a living. Then then I told him I'm a life coach and I also do these other stuff on the side. He goes, oh, interesting. Then he goes, I've noticed, I was surprised so and so does this for work and so does that for work. Man, those are huge, big deals, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, but it's crazy. Guys here don't share like what they do for, like, throughout the weekend, we don't talk much or anything about what I do for work. You know, and that surprised him, because it was like, when you go to a party or an event, people usually, you know, it's not like you're sizing each other about like, what you do. Then I was like, yeah, that's exactly the point.
The point,
yeah. Because I can be a CEO or whatever of a big corporate company, make tons of millions of dollars and everything, but this weekend is not about that. This weekend, I'm not CEO or COO. I'm just literally Avril, right? And I come in to immerse myself in the process. So there's no responsibility. I'm not thinking of the wife. I'm not thinking of the kids. I'm not thinking of the work. I'm not thinking. So even my inner kid shows up. I get to come and play. You know, I get to come and just, so it was kind of a concept for me that kind of boggled. It's like, what? I don't get it. People don't. I'm like, no, we don't. You know, I mean, in general, when it's just low key time, it's just like when I find out how about each other. Yeah, some people ask what you do for a living, but that's never the emphasis. Because what ends up happening at times as well, or at least what I've noticed outside in society, is that you meet someone at a party or in a social group, and the moment you know what they do, something happens. You either subconsciously, you know, you put them on a pedestal. Oh shit! Oh, whereas we could have met and connected and then once you know what they do, you put them on a pedestal, and all of a sudden you're no longer authentic with them to a certain extent, you know, or you know, and yeah, that stuff is whether we don't have that there because we're not doing that. It's not about that. So that's something.
It's very, I would say, incredible, Avril, because probably if you have a higher position in a company or something like that, sometimes you are seen as that person that was talking to you was saying, oh, I wouldn't, what I heard him saying or what you told me he was saying, but what came into my mind was like, how is he here in this situation?
Yes.
And it's like a judgment, because it means that that kind of people don't get to be that vulnerable. That kind of people don't get to have
Yes.
challenges, need self-development, need all these.
Yes.
But they do. They
Yes.
are human
They
beings,
do.
right?
They do.
Yeah.
And that guy also gets to come and sit and go, yo, fuck. Shit is crazy. I'm under a lot of stress. ... He gets to come and just... He doesn't even have to say what his job is and what he does for a living. If he doesn't, it's not comfortable with that, but he just gets to come and vent.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I'm actually struggling. This company is paying me ... I got this project ... But I really feel inside me I need to leave this job and go do something else. And my wife is not down for that. You know, he gets to be vulnerable. And like what Eric was saying, most men, we don't have that space where you can go and process that stuff.
And even
Do
in
you get what I'm saying?
sports, like, I can imagine that that's very frequent in sports, that men in
Yeah.
sports don't allow themselves to have this kind of vulnerability
No,
of
exactly. In sports, but in general, right? There's a big, and I think this is across the board. Probably this even goes back to ancestrally. That if you share certain details in the wrong environment, right? Or with in an environment where perhaps men are not ready to receive that, right? Like if they've never done that kind of work, like kind of what Avril said with regards to like newbies who kind of first time on the call, and they come like even halfway through. When I came into Warheart Way, it was halfway through a conversation where a man was again sharing some intimate details about his life and things like that, and to start with, again, you try not to judge as much as possible, but again, all of your is again, I think that's your shadow and your all of these thoughts coming to your head of, oh, is this for me? Do you know what I mean? Like, am I ready for this? So if you kind of just you've like, let's say me and Avril have been in kind of like a friendship where we're on the same soccer team or whatever, and then we kind of we're socially able to spend time together and things like that. And then all of a sudden I kind of share some more intimate details. Hey, I'm kind of struggling with this and that. I've been there where you almost feel uncomfortable for the other person because you see a clear physical and emotional shift in their body language of, oh, I'm so sorry, but let me,
But
like that kind of like Homer Simpson back into
Also
the
back into the
into the bullet. It's the
I need to go
personification.
to a place, like
Yeah,
looking at the
yeah.
clock and whoo.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, it's like that's very real though. If somebody's not ready to receive that. So,
Definitely.
to your point, Sophie, it's much more, I mean, it's becoming more prevalent thanks to groups like Avril's group, Wolfhart Way, and stuff like that.
And even having people like you, Eric, that are more aware of this, and you coach little kids, right? So you coach people that are having struggles and challenges and maybe not being able to open up. So having people like you near them, because you create a network of support, it's very important because it's
Absolutely,
with
yeah. I
kids
think,
that we can do the change. Of course, with grown-up
I
people, we
agree.
can do the change also, but it takes a little bit more time.
I love
And
that.
if we start with
I love that point. Yeah.
kids, yeah, I think
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
brilliant.
I'm sure Avril will agree with me that, like, as a young man, I'd wished that I had had this information earlier, right? Because that would have served me much better during my 20s and my 30s, right? With regards to the ability to be a bit, vulnerable at the right time, to be open.
Yeah.
But again, just like anything else, you can hear things, but not live them, right? So you really need to live through that experience and, understand that you like, this is something that everyone needs, right? So if, as you said, as a young person, you kind of begin to realize that and understand that, I think that can truly be powerful. So, 100%.
Awesome. Yo, this is not the topic we had in mind, but I think it's good to end here because I know Sophia has to go.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's been great connecting with you guys. Yes. The topic we're going to have today was inner child and adaptive child theory. That's still to come. I'm still looking forward to that. But for today, thank you so much, Sophia. It's good to have your input in this whole conversation we
Yes,
had today.
I would love to be more time. Yeah, but I really need to go.
Yes, I
Thank you,
know.
guys.
Thanks,
All right.
Sophia.
For
Thanks,
Enjoy
sure.
your
Avril.
weekend. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Good jumping. See you guys. Bye.
Right. This has been Life's a Coach with Avril Yosfort, Eric Claremont, and Sophia. See you guys next time on Life's a Coach. And for now, take care.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.